there's an entire commission structure, at least there was, as a result of that Hill lawsuit I had. They changed that structure because what they were doing is they were essentially creating incentive for the interventionalists and the hotline experts that you were speaking to, who were really nothing more than salesmen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they totally manipulated. My parents are very conservative Catholic. They were, when they hear marijuana, they're like, oh, marijuana.
Yeah, I know.
And so
there was actually, I know in one of the cases I had, there were some allegations because they specifically utilized. Again, the industry isn't heavily regulated because it's outside the scope of medical. So when you bring an action against them, for example, here in Florida, it's not a medical malpractice claim. It's at 766. And the company and many of these outfits take express efforts and fairly belabored efforts to make sure that they're fall outside the scope of what's considered an inpatient facility. And this way they're able to avoid the certain requirements of nursing staff. So it sucks, but it's legal.
Well, and they have like two phases. There's the detox center, which is a little bit more medical, I guess. But then once you make it past that, then you go into this place, the Shoe. That's what everyone called it there.
Right.
And then it's more expensive.
In all fair, that place, if you have again, and you probably learned a shitload about it, having to go through the process that you went through. I'm certainly not rendering any judgments, especially given the fact that THC and gummies and fucking, you want to buy an ounce, you cannot walk into a store and do it. But nevertheless, for those people who are on medications who literally have very significant physical effect, I'm talking about stuff like fentanyl, certain opiates, heroin, and the like. They're not properly qualified to handle those types of patients. No. They're just not.
Yeah, well, I saw.
But in any case, so you had a bad experience. They certainly manipulated and took advantage of you, which is why I started asserting claims as under Chapter 415, which is neglect, abuse, or exploitation of a vulnerable adult. A vulnerable adult is someone whose ability to take care of the day-to-day functions is compromised. So we brought a number of those actions against River Oaks and many other facilities utilized in Chapter 415. Well, what is it that you're trying to do?
No, I'm glad.
I understand you're pissed at them, but what is it you're trying to do?
Well, what I'm trying to do is my simple goal is to get this petition to gain more signatures so that it's circulated more widely and that perhaps it gets some new media attention, not about me though, just about American addiction centers.
And again, I don't mean to be a merchant of discouragement, but you're wasting your time.
Yeah. Well,
what you need to do is try to get that petition into the hands of a legislator.
Well, I've already, trust me, I have written to senators. But what really spurred this though is when I started to read of Joe Nicolosi Jean, his mom. He's no longer here. He died at the Las Vegas Center. Just reading some of her Facebook posts, and then I watched the video of Stone Galloway, another 21-year-old kid who his roommate was urging the staff there, something's wrong, he's not breathing. They ignored him because nobody believes in vulnerable addict people. They all think they're just crazy.
Right.
And this young kid died. And
I'll tell you the same thing, unfortunately, Claudia, happens in hospitals every day. I tried a case last year. I mean, the gal was a habitual drunkard, it was clear. And she had fallen and broken her ribs. They brought her in for observation, but they didn't really observe her. They didn't hook her up to telemetry. They didn't do anything. Why? And there's references in the records. This woman's clearly an alcoholic. She needs help. She needs abuse. They took what we call a real soft look at her, as opposed to, again, maintaining a greater degree of diligence and zeal about properly observing and monitoring her. So they always say, what's the best place to choke? Well, I'd rather not choke in a restaurant. I'd rather choke in a hospital, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody around you is qualified. This woman basically ruptured a blood vessel because of her flailing chest and multiple broken ribs. And this is a known complication. It's one of the reasons they don't send you home when you have broken ribs. They want to monitor you to make sure you don't otherwise fall into significant distress. So one of the displaced portions of the rib opened up an intercostal vessel, and she bled to death, drowned in her own blood in the hospital while hammering the call button and while calling her husband, who was calling the hospital saying she's not right. Nah, she's fine. She's just anxious, she's drunk, and she wants more meds. Oh, can you imagine?
That is horrifying.
Yeah, ask me the result of that case. 0. Because it's very, very difficult to assert claims against medical professionals. They are held in very high esteem, high regard. The claims against the have a much greater degree of jury appeal. And there's almost there's a hypocrisy about it, because initially there is always skepticism about someone who is in a rehab facility. Mm-hmm. Well, if you're going to play with fire, that's what's going to happen. You decide to get hooked on drugs. What do you expect? But at the same time, the notion of financial exploitation is so overwhelming that the jurors start to get it. None of these people are properly qualified. They're not trained. It's all about the money. Yeah. It's like you see on television. Chase the money. Mm-hmm. Chase the money and you'll find it. Well, again, it sounds like you have as much information or more information than I do about some of the intricacies and some of the evils, so I don't necessarily know how much I can help you.
Well, I just, hearing what you're saying now is helpful, but I just wanted to, I was wondering if I created a list, I know maybe I should move away from the petition, but just in general, a list of every person that has died there and investigated. I've already obtained all the 911 calls from the River Oaks place, and I wanted to listen to...
Horrifying, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'll also suggest to you that my most recent, it's not my most recent, so it's 2 cases ago, mm-hmm. where my guy flew down from Chicago and basically died really before the intake process was even completed. He was so suicidal. Ran out and jumped in front of the car.
It was this Graham Hill, right? Graham Hill?
That's Graham. Yep, that's Graham. So the videotape, we had originally seen it and met with the head of security, or former head of security at the time, and had to rely upon what his descriptions were of in the video, because lo and behold, the video surveillance disappeared.
Isn't that interesting? Wow.
No, it's not interesting. River Oaks fucking destroyed it. It's what happened. They purged it.
Well, you know what my theory is, and what I'm getting at with this is that I also think when I was there, I noticed every day, there's fentanyl. Why? It's a drug den. They let actual drug dealer. I met somebody.
Yes, first of all, you can come and go. There's no, again, if they were to otherwise prevent you from coming and going, then they are considered to be regulated by a different statute, which requires, again, a much more higher degree of skill. But whatever, and I know this is the place that you're selecting to try to make a difference at, but I will tell you that these guys, if we were talking here, utilizing perhaps some of the information you've learned during the course of your research, this is like the misdemeanor section. This is like the jail. This is not the prison. There are places right here within 15 miles of where I'm standing right now, looking over into the Tampa Bay, and I can look over and see Pinellas County in particular. Mm-hmm. And this was a place where they essentially rented an apartment, and a couple of guys who had long criminal backgrounds hired some people who held themselves out as counselors and former addicts who could otherwise assist these people in the transition and in their recovery. And forget about drug den. They would pick these people up. It was not supervised in the apartment, and they would pick these people up and take them to essentially a strip mall where they rented a small space, and they sat around in folding chairs and allegedly had therapy for a few hours, and then they drive them back. The things that were going on at that apartment, which is owned by the same facility, but they utilize a different LLC to try to create some degree of corporate separation and distinction, raped my 17-year-old client. 4 guys gang raped her in the facility, her fellow patients.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's trafficking.
These are bad places, Claudia. The vast majority of them are just bad.
It's like sorry, go ahead. No, I don't know if you've seen Anne Heche. She mysteriously died, that actress, but she made a film called The Girl in Room 13 about a motel, and this girl was trafficked by drug dealers. But this was at an actual facility in Pinellas County.
I'm telling you, this is at the facility. So what happens is, part of the whole nature, if you will, of the business, mm-hmm. the model, excuse me, this is from a revenue-generating perspective, I'll tell you. Mm-hmm. There's an incentive to get you away from what they call your triggers. What they really want to do is get you the hell away from anybody who is paying the bills and who might otherwise be coming to visit and look around and seeing how shady it is, and who might otherwise exercise good judgment and say, let me get this person out of here.
Yeah.
Graham Hill is a perfect example. Why would you fly a guy who is now threatened to kill himself? He's shot live rounds in the house. He's clearly paranoid and delusional. His own psychiatrist has said that. And they call the hotline, the independent hotline. There's nothing independent about it. It's owned and operated by AAC, which owns and operates River Oaks and a number of other facilities throughout the company. And interestingly enough, the hotline only sends patients, or they're not even considered patients, or customers, clients. They only send their customers and clients to their own facilities, nowhere else. Mm-hmm. It's a marketing route. And what they find is, well, let's get you away from your triggers. So you're going to put a man on a plane who needs to be, here in Florida, we call it Baker Acted. Or sometimes, if it's a function of drugs, alcohol, it'll be a Marchman Act. Exactly. And, well, why would you just call the hospital? The guy's out of his mind. He's threatening to kill himself. You can hear it in the back of the tape. You can, while his wife is calling, she's clearly frantic. They're getting credit card numbers, and they can hear him in the background ranting and raving. Fortunately, she had two neighbors there. The last thing you want to do is put this man inside a plane. Yeah. A plane with but they have him fly right away within 2 hours. They get a flight out of Chicago, O'Hare. He drives out there, and then he flies down here. He's on the plane. He's out of control. TIA, Tampa International Airport, takes him into security with TSA because he's clearly not right. Someone from River Oaks shows up and, again, represents himself as being a counselor, and I'm here to pick him up. And no, it's fine. I will accept him into my custody. And, again, this guy needed immediate treatment. He needed to be taken to a hospital. He needed to be either Baker Acted or Marchman Acted on an immediate basis. At 2 o'clock in the morning, first of all, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, River Oaks doesn't have the ability to properly address. They don't have the resource expertise to properly address a circumstance like this. Clearly not at 2 o'clock in the morning. The guy that was actually a cook, a former cook who is now the director of intake. Could you imagine? They're short on staff, so they bring a guy out of the kitchen to make these more executive decisions.
That's desperate.
So it is 100% frightening. But my point is this. You'll always see a separation. You'll always try to see that. You'll see that the interventionalist or the facility, and I'm not talking just River Oaks or AAC, American Addiction Centers, but as an industry, they utilize these arguments about, well, we have to get him away to a different environment, away from the triggers. No, they want to get him away from, again, people who might otherwise interfere with the facility's ability to continue to bilk them. Again, my Gulfport example about my gal, the 17-year-old, is a perfect example. I don't care what trigger she was facing in Delaware. You don't bring her down to an unsupervised house with adults where there's active crack smoking, no supervision whatsoever, and a 17-year-old girl not in a designated place or safe harbor, rather just all rooms are open and available, gang raped. No, that's unforgivable.
Yeah. Well, people look at the website and they maybe see Google reviews, don't realize that they're paid for and they're fake. And then they look at little shiny badge on the website that says Expert Choice 2020, and they're like, "Oh wow, this is accredited."
The Expert Choice 2020, and again, I didn't get that deep into it, but you're going to find that there are many of these accolades that are actually paid for. Meaning, it's no different than if you were to sign up for a AAA.
Yeah.
American Automobile Association.
Well, I would be interested in who is offering these accreditations. Like, there's the Commission on Accreditation of Rehabilitation Facilities.
Yeah, again, you're going to find that a lot of them are just 2 or 3 facilities that got together and created this supposedly independent body.
Oh.
So the same people who are on the board have interests in facilities.
That makes sense. So it's basically like a very, very sophisticated trafficking ring.
It is. I don't necessarily think it's a trafficking ring, but I think it's not multi-level marketing, but it has that same type of. It's not for the good. They're not promoting. They're not promoting anything good.
No.
They are not. They are not benevolent. These are profit-making organizations that are. Think about it, because an addict, someone who is truly addicted, and there's a desperation there. There's a physical, physiological, psychological desire to do whatever it takes to get get the drug that's needed. And it's the very notion, the very nature of the underlying disease process is used against the patient because they want to keep them. In other words, the facilities want to have people. They want to have residents. They want to have patients. That's how they make money. So somebody may actually turn the corner, but they're telling the people who are otherwise paying the bill, oh, no, he still needs another week here, I think. And again, who are you going to defer to if you're the consumer and you're paying monies? So it is. There are, again, not everybody is not reputable, Claudia, and I don't want you to think that the entire industry is in cahoots and it's organized crime, so to speak. But just the vast majority of these places should not be in business, and they're all about the money. But there are many. But in all fairness, there are many, many, many industries like that. And eventually, as time passes, what we see is bad things occur, and then there's a greater degree of regulation that emerges, not unlike the salon spas. Mm-hmm. You can be a DO, a doctor of osteopathic medicine, you've studied cardiology your whole life, and you've worked in the hospital, and you go take a 3-hour course at some Hilton hotel over the course of a weekend, and you are now certified to perform essentially plastic surgery procedures with YAG lasers and the like. So you see all these little salon spaces or spas where they offer aesthetic treatments. Mm-hmm. These mini facelifts or these similar, not full-fledged adipose fat transfers, but Brazilian butt lifts type of thing. These people are not qualified to perform these procedures, but they are after a 3-hour certificate. It's all about the money.
Yeah, I actually went.
Follow the money.
Yeah, there's a lot of places in Florida like that. People looking for fillers and things like that. I remember. Yeah. Well, I guess there's another. On one hand, you could look at who's in charge of regulating these people. Why aren't they doing a better job?
But again, the good ones are very, very careful to work outside the scope of the regulatory bodies. Mm-hmm. So they're not regulated by ACA. They're not regulated by the Department of Health. They're not. You follow? They're not subject to the same. What happens is they don't need to be licensed.
Yeah. So it's just.
They don't need to be licensed as a medical facility. And it's interesting because even if you're an X-ray tech, you have to have some certification. Whether or not those certifications make you eligible for any legal action to be brought against you under Chapter 766 is a function of which you are of what section you're licensed under, which statute. And again, these folks, especially larger corporate, socioeconomically sophisticated entities that trade on the public stock exchange, like American Addiction Centers, they have very qualified and sophisticated counsel who are properly advising them. Mm-hmm. So it's not illegal. It's not subject to further regulation. It's not. It should be. But again, that's why I would suggest that the real meat of making change in this circumstance is either continue to sue the living hell out of them. I'm not too humble to tell you as a direct result of some of my lawsuits, at least here. I'm standing here in my office. I wear a headset, so I walk around like I'm in a boy band, Claudia. So right now I'm looking at Tampa General as I'm talking to you. Tampa General changed its policies about monitoring pediatric patients post-surgically as a direct result of one of my lawsuits. I can't demand that. I can't ask for that. But rather I seek compensatory damages, monies, on behalf of the surviving family. And rather than continuing to get hit and having to continue to pay larger verdicts or judgments, well, sometimes it's cheaper just to go ahead and make some changes in our policies, make some changes in the system to make it safer. And I think the same has to hold true here. So, again, hopefully our efforts over the course of the past 10 or 15 years have we've certainly shut some places down, and hopefully we'll continue to make some things there'll be some benefit. Again, Graham Hill, his case is the reason why they no longer, at least one larger company, American Addiction Centers, no longer uses a financial bonus incentive for their salespeople, for their telephone operators.
It's amazing how much effort it goes to just change one little aspect of their whole.
But isn't that the purpose of the world? Isn't that the purpose of what we're here for? We're here to make a difference. We may not be able to save everything, but if we can make one difference, if there's one kernel of information or wisdom or insight, one kernel of benefit that we can do, that we can provide, or at least contribute to enhance the quality of life for everybody, or even for a few people, ain't that worth it?
It's true. No.
Again, so I promise you, I don't mean to discourage you, but it's clear to me that you speak in an articulate, intelligent fashion, and you have a pretty good degree of sophistication. Utilizing those personality traits and those assets, you really ought to be lobbying. You really ought to be lobbying legislature, because again, until additional laws or administrative code requirements are passed, the media doesn't do anything.
Yeah,
the media just brings something into the forefront, and hopefully legislators or lobbyists jump on it.
Well, it's just the mother of Joe Nicolosi, she still gets billing from the P test. They make a lot of money from the urinalysis.
Yep.
And then another thing.
Again, you understand that's a complete moneymaker.
Yeah.
Again, these guys are sophisticated enough to realize, well, hey, wait a minute, we can't keep him here inpatient because then we'd have to have a doctor here all the time. And although we would be able to bill certain health insurance cards, but just let's let them come and go. And we can justify subjecting them to urinalysis upon their return. Okay, well, who's doing the urinalysis?
It's kind of weird when you think about how they who they hire, because they do have doctors there, but are these doctors?
No, they don't. No, they don't.
Well, psychiatrists, supposedly.
No, they don't.
They're not real?
No, they don't.
Wow.
No, these are all independent contractors who serve as medical directors. And again, not all facilities require medical directors unless, again, you're subject to the depending on where you are statewise, whether or not, again, you're licensed under a particular statute that requires that. And most of they don't do it for marketing purposes, even in those states where it's not required. We have a medical director. Okay, well, the medical director is medical director of 6 different facilities in 4 different states. And all you're really doing is paying him an annual fee to use his name and his license. He's never even been to some of these properties.
It's pretty crazy. Well, when I looked at the locations I listed out all the locations for people in the petition to file a report if they wanted to, and it gave them all these resources. And one of the places in Texas is called, they have a sober living home on Wet and Wild Way. Isn't that a little bit weird? Just, why would they choose that of all the places?
It's all about the money.
I'm listening to what you're saying, though.
There's going to be an opportunity to enhance their customer traffic in a location. They'll consider that one of the factors. If it's a real cheap location, if they're paying less per square foot, that's a factor for their consideration because it enhances their profit margin. It's a combination of factors, but it all tends to be about the money.
Well, and another thing is, just from a security point of view, when I was at River Oaks, they kept this lady, Kristen. What happened to me is she kicked me out because I ordered a smoothie on Uber, and everyone was ordering pizza. I just ordered a smoothie, and she kicked me out, and I was supposed to go to a halfway house, and the halfway house didn't take me, so I had to go. It was just a mess. I don't even want to get into it, but it was just.
Listen, these places are nightmares.
But
nightmares.
When I was there for a whole month, they were, and this is, Graham Hill happened in 2016 or 2018?
Well, I couldn't tell you. I know that the trial was scheduled last year, and they finally caught. I'm telling you, no, I think Judge Holder arbitrated it, but we ultimately resolved it.
They still don't have a gate. So this guy ran out.
They're not going to have a gate. That's the point.
They
can't. If they were to restrict access, it changes the nature of the facility.
That alone is
the nature of the services that are being offered.
So they lie to everyone, saying, "Oh, don't worry, we're getting a gate. We just don't have enough money. Blah blah blah. We need a gate."
I mean, you can certainly have a gate, but you can't restrict access in or out. So I don't know what the fuck the point of the gate is.
Okay, because people, when I was there, they would just go to 7-Eleven, go get drunk, come back.
Right. Right. That's actually encouraged.
Yeah.
But there was if I remember correctly, it was right about the time when Graham died. It was a month or 2 earlier where some guy had left the premises and got all fucked up and broke into a number of houses, neighboring residences, and unfortunately found himself a gun.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, he killed himself, and there's no mention of his name anywhere. I was trying to find his name.
That's right.
I can't find his
right.
name. And who is this CEO? You probably know Jeff Turachik or whatever his name is.
Yeah, Jeff Turachik's a piece of work. I had the opportunity to depose him. Yeah.
So is this, because I guess I want to get into specifics, because you were saying that they have a lot of medical directors who never set foot on the campus but are kind of advising on how.
I'm not suggesting AAC. I'm telling you this is industry wide.
Oh, okay, yeah. And
again, I've been doing this now a long time. Mm-hmm. I'll share with you that I got into it because I got a call from some pretty close friends. You know, Dave's wife called me, said, Jack, it's getting bad, man. And this was a guy that I'd kind of grown up with, worked with in the gyms, and out of Chicago, grew up above a bakery, 5 kids living in a 2-bedroom apartment type of thing, but made it really well in both the fitness industry and then ultimately as in the financial industry, and living in a $6 million house, had 12 different cars and the like. So they at least had some funds where he could try to get considered the best treatment. So she was sending him out to Malibu, to that place Passages, which I want to say is $50,000 a week cash. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But they're not a whole heck of a lot better than River Oaks or any place else.
I think Vice did a documentary.
Ultimately, the reason I got involved was he wound up being sent to Florida and to a different facility. It wasn't AAC or River Oaks. And so I went and checked out on it. This place is fucking absurd. It's horrid.
Yeah. And
they was bilking them cash-wise. So I go, you're out of here. Come on. We'll get you the fuck out of here. And they had already paid in advance. And I went to go get the monies back. And no. And I said, all right, enough. So I sued them and then started learning more about all of these facilities and started talking to some of the people who were much like you, either had bad experiences or were so outraged that they became activists, if you will, at trying to reform the industry. And I'll tell you, I think a lot of good's been done over the course of the last 15 to 20 years. So don't let me discourage you from keeping up the fight, Claudia. I just want to try to, again, it sounds like you are a great resource. Just, I'd love to see it directed in a meaningful way where you can actually hopefully help make a change.
Yeah, I think that so far I've done very vague. I have a friend I went to college with who's a lobbyist for Oceana, and I think that it's about specific relationships, and so far I've done the very generic thing of, let me go to Senator Rick Scott's website and send an email that is just...
you and 2,000 other people.
Yeah.
Some of whom want to make sure there are tinfoil on the windows of all government buildings to keep the aliens out. So unfortunately you get lumped in with some folks that aren't taken seriously.
Yeah.
And it'd be nice to be able to set yourself apart. I'll leave you with this because it may motivate you. The vast majority of my work is, I think if you've done some research, is medical malpractice. Mm-hmm. And originally I thought this would be a medical. No, it's not. They're not governed. They're not regulated. And so I'm blessed with a number of very good colleagues, good lawyers who at least have enough trust and confidence in me to send me their med mal stuff. Jack, can you take a look at this? I just don't know if I'm saying here or not. And gal Natalie Kawam called me and said, Jack, I think I got a good one this time. I think this is really bad. I think they really screwed up. Again, the medical malpractice law is very, very difficult, but it's because they're designed to protect physicians, not the patients, not the consumers. And sure enough, I go through, I'm reading, I'm like, holy Jiminy Criminy. Yeah, they missed this lung cancer. I think it's fairly clear. Oh, well, wait a minute. Our guy's still active military, and this is a VA. No. There's something called the Ferris Doctrine, F-E-R-E-S. Natalie, what are you saying? I'm saying I can't help him. I can't bring an action. He's still active military. I don't understand. The active military people can't sue the military bodies. They can't sue their own country. Now, if he's retired, he's out of the military, he still get treatment at the VA, and the VA screws up. Yeah, I can sue him, but Natalie, I can't help you. I don't understand. I went through the case law with her. She said, so what you're telling me is there's nothing I can do. I said, no, you can do one of two things. You can somehow convince Congress to pass new law that's been around for 40 years, or you can somehow file suit. We can go ahead and bring it all the way up to the United States Supreme Court. The United States Supreme Court would have to reverse the Ferris decision from 1940-something.
The Ferris decision.
She goes, so there's not a whole lot I can do. I said, yeah, unfortunately, that's what I'm telling you. And she said this. She goes, Jack, we'll see. A year and a half ago, Congress went ahead and passed the States-Gal Amendment, which enables active military people to now sue when they've been,
That's very
great
new.
story.
Yeah.
And Natalie Kawam, K-H-A-W-A-M. As a matter of fact, there was a big article. Suppose they're making a movie. I've told her twice now. I need to make sure Matthew McConaughey plays my role, or John Bernthal. But there was a great, in Vanity Fair, there's a really good little article, and it tells the story. The same story I'm telling you. The quotes, the specific words I said to her telling me, yeah, we'll see. So it can be done, but you've got to be committed, buddy. And it sounds like you are.
Well, I've had my own stuff, even with me trying to get records. Like you said, they destroyed footage. There's a lot of shady things that have been going on
industry is
Yeah,
shady.
I got a cease and desist letter from a therapist who I knew when I was 17. She sent me a cease and desist letter because I asked for my medical records, and I'm just like, why are you what's going on here? And then it's just
again, I think there's probably some other reasons there because she has nothing to do with the facilities.
yeah, it's just so there's just a lot.
But it's not so bad. You're learning a lot about some of the things that you and I are discussing right now.
Yeah,
It's hard to oppose. I don't want to lump American addiction centers or rehab facilities in with doctors because, hey, doctors doing God's work. I get it. Mm-hmm. But there is a certain immunity given. There is a certain perception of people who provide care, any kind of care or treatment, as being saintly. And it ain't true. Mm-mm. But boy, the laws are in place to protect people who are perceived in a saintly fashion. So keep doing what you're doing. I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed speaking with you. And if there's anything I can do to help you or try to point you in the right direction, feel free to buzz me anytime, Claudia.
Well, I have a quick question before you go. I know it's been, 35 minutes, but I need tangible facts, information. If I want to look up people who have died at AAC, this mom, Joe Nicolosi's mom, she spoke to me a lot and then she's not responding anymore. I guess maybe it's triggering for her, but she's told me at least 50 people have died at AAC. And I'm just like, how can I find this out?
No.
You won't be able to find it.
Maybe nationally. The company's been around for a while. Went public, four or 5 years ago. But it hasn't been 4 years yet. But no, there's certainly been 50-plus deaths across the country in the industry. But certainly not, I'm telling you, certainly not at River Oaks.
Oh, no, well, I mean the entire AAC chain, like in Las Vegas.
That may be.
Florida.
That may be.
Blah, blah, blah.
But I will tell you, just in Florida?
No, she means AAC, like the whole company.
Right, country, nationally.
National, yeah.
I can see that.
And I mean...
again, the problem is that even during the course of the past year, they've acquired additional locations and facilities. So this is a big, huge public company. I mean, Turchek's no dummy.
Yeah.
He's done well. Again, public offering, the IPO. I raised a heck of a lot of money. For me, the difficulty was always, again, they're mom and pop individual operations. And again, they have 3 separate corporations. The little apartment building, like in my gang rape case, was owned by an LLC. It's all the same guy. And the mall little area where they're having their daily therapy sessions. I use quotes around that. That was leased by another entity that had been established. And it's tough. There's no assets. There's no insurance.
And so, is there any connection with like the NFL being a sponsor of AAC? Kind of like there's like is there any fund?
Nah, there's no sponsors. They just try to garner endorsements.
Okay, it's just an endorsement.
It's sales. It's marketing.
Okay.
And again, people are like, oh, that's bullshit. That's wrong. That's misrepresentation. No, it's not.
Yeah. So the actual
when you see Joe Namath hawking these Medicare supplemental plans, he's not endorsing or sponsoring it. Rather, he's getting paid to be a spokesperson. That's what happens. They pay the NFL fee. AAC does.
So AAC gets away with all of this because of the legal way that they've structured their company that holds them with no liability, but they still can provide intimate...
No, they have liability.
Yeah.
But again, they've created an outfit that where they have truly done a nice job from a legal perspective of structuring their organization in a way that gives them as much insulation as they can otherwise find. Mm-hmm. And in those areas where they can't get any legal insulation, again, they try to remediate or protect themselves by limiting their exposure, by, again, creating a separate LLC or a separate corporation.
So finding the vulnerability for each specific person that has been hurt by their policy is just a matter of combing through what they have available, which is not easy to find. Like going.
Oh yeah, but again, I have the benefit of subpoena powers. So when I file suit, I can start issuing subpoenas to third parties. I can make discovery requests. But it was a fight. Yeah. My first case against AAC was a fight. Everything I'm asking for, they're objecting to it. I'm marching them into court every week to try to get a judicial order, making them disclose additional information. And even then, Claudia, how do I really know whether they're honestly providing everything?
Well, that's
I'm not suggesting anything badly about their lawyers. But the lawyer says, no, stop fucking around. You got to give Jack this stuff, and it's pursuant to the rules of procedures, pursuant to the Rule 1.280. It's permissible, and if you don't give it to him, we're going to get sanctioned. Like, all right, we'll give it to him. How do I know whether or not they're only giving 80% of the records to their lawyer?
And this is where you need a hacker. This is where you need someone who can go in and log into their system and find out the information. Because if they're not being ethical...
Yeah, exactly. But now you're talking about, again, I'm still an officer of the court.
Yeah, you're right.
It's like you're telling a police officer, that's when you just got to forget about the search warrant, bust on in on your own. Right, I get it, but you can't.
You can't do that.
Then you're not much better than the guy that you're accused of being a bad guy, right?
No, you're right. I just wanted, so the average, you're a sworn-in officer, that's what gives you the right to subpoena. Nobody can really subpoena information.
No, that doesn't give you the right to issue a subpoena. Any human being can. You don't have to be a lawyer to issue a subpoena if you file a lawsuit. That's the whole thing. Once there's an active case, then that's when the subpoena power is provided. And it's not limitless. You can only subpoena, and anytime a subpoena is issued, I'm talking to third parties now. I sue AAC. I can go ahead and get information from the state involving their licensing and their registering, their applications. So the subpoena goes to the state. But with respect to the party I'm in litigation with, I ask them directly for it.
Yeah.
Because the rules require it. But you don't have to be a lawyer to file a lawsuit. The problem is normally you got to be a lawyer to make sure you can keep the lawsuit from being dismissed.
Yeah, and you don't want people, and people will take you more seriously depending on if you're an actual lawyer.
100%. 100%. So keep up the good fight. Stick to your guns. And I wish I could offer you some magic bullet, but no, this is...
Well, in the case,
stuff.
No, I know you want to get off this call. I can tell you're over this conversation, but I really just want to milk
I
milk
promise you it's not that, but I do have somebody who's been here for
all right, okay.
15.
Well, let me stop bothering you then. I didn't realize you had someone waiting.
Not a bother. It's a pleasure to speak with you.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
You are welcome, and feel free to holler at me anytime.
Okay, bye.